Hey y'all, some of you may be asking the question, do I use soil blocks or do I use seed cell trays to start my seedlings? Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about the pros and cons of each and which one you should use. Let's do this. Hey y'all, welcome back to Dirk Tanner Gardening and Homestead. My name is Dirk and this channel is all about tips and tools so that your garden and homestead can thrive. All right, y'all, so here I am at my table and I have multiple options. As you can tell, multiple sizes of plastic cell trays. I've also got my soil blocker. The first thing I want to talk about is the plastic seed trays. First off, I want to talk about some of the pros. The first pro to the seed cell trays is that they're very easy to deal with. I think that for a beginner gardener, being able to put soil into the top of this, plant your seed into the top, cover it, keep it moist, it is very easy and is great to begin with to start your plants. The other pro that I see to these is your plant's gonna hold together well in a good root ball in the seed cell tray. It's never gonna come out unless you pull it out, obviously, or tip it over. But you can move these around really well from your greenhouse to outside to your windowsill, wherever you're starting your seeds and they're getting sunlight. You can move them around very easily, and I think that is a huge pro to these seed cell trays. The other pro to the cell trays is that you can bottom water them, and they're just, overall, they're really easy to deal with. Now to talk about a few cons. I think one of the biggest cons to these trays is that unless you buy really expensive ones, it's gonna be really thin, flimsy plastic. And so over time, you're gonna have to buy new ones. And of course, this is probably just gonna be going in the landfill. And so that is one of the negatives that I see, is that you're constantly gonna be having to buy new ones eventually. Now, you can buy some expensive ones like that come from Bootstrap Farmer. They're really thick plastic and sturdy, and they're gonna last you for a lot of seasons of growing. However, over time, they're gonna still break down and you're gonna have to buy new ones. I think the other con to the plastic seed trays is that you're gonna have to buy multiple sizes. This is a really big one. You've got some medium sized, small ones, some mid to medium sized ones. As you can see, there's a lot of choices. The last con I want to talk about is what's called a root bound plant. So when you have a seed cell tray and you have, let's say, tomatoes growing in this, and you leave them in this cell for too long, what's gonna happen is that root is going to wrap around the plant. It's going to wrap around the root ball. And root bound plants don't do well when you transplant them out into the garden. That's one of the cons you're going to deal with these seed cell trays if you leave your plants in there too long. If you're finding this content helpful so far, please click that like and subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, commenting down below and tell me what method have you been using for starting seeds. Now to talk about the soil blocker. I'm a huge fan of the soil block. And to be honest, I'm a huge fan of both systems. But the biggest pro to me with a soil blocker is that you're only gonna have to buy this one time. This is gonna last you a lifetime, and you don't have to buy 10 different sizes. This is an 1.5 inch soil blocker, I believe. I'll put the link down below if you're wanting to purchase one off of Amazon. But to me, a soil blocker is a little bit more difficult to deal with. And you've got to have your soil medium right, and you've also got to make sure you make really thick and firm soil blocks, or else they're going to just fall apart. And so to me, the greatest thing about a soil blocker is that those roots are going to be air pruned. So when you plant that seed in the top of that soil block and the roots spread out, as they begin to go outside of the soil block, they're going to begin to touch air, and that's what's called air pruning. So you're never ever going to get a root bound plant when you're using soil blocks, and I think that is incredibly helpful. Another one of the pros of soil blocks is that you're never going to get transplant shock. Now, if you do take your soil blocks from the greenhouse straight into the garden, yes, you will get transplant shock. However, I think you get more shock from the seed cell trays compared to the soil blocks. And so to me, there are a lot of pros to this system over the plastic seed cell trays. A couple of cons though. The soil blocks can be difficult to make, and they can fall apart pretty easily, like I said, unless you make a really firm soil block. The other thing is you have to be really careful when watering them. If you overwater them, they can fall apart, and then you've lost your plant. So to summarize, I think the soil block really does have its place, and so does the plastic seed cell trays. Ultimately, what's going to help you in your context? And I think having both of them can be great, but you can experiment with each and decide for yourself which one you want to use. I hope you all have found this video helpful. If you have, please click that like and subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the next video. Happy growing.